So my name is Daniel Pearce. I am the Client Relations Director for a company called GES. We are the official Leeds partner. And the point of this presentation and this webinar is I'm going to give you some useful hints and tips that we've learned over the years to make sure that you have a successful event. And then we're going to do a little product demo of Visit Connect, which is our lead scanning tool that's available. A little bit of background on ourselves. We average between 600 and 800 exhibitions and conferences a year. And one of the key things that we like to do is take in information and talk with exhibitors, visitors, organisers, and really find out how we can make events better. And I'm going to show you some information first off that we've learned that will hopefully give you the tools to move forward and have a successful event. So the first bit that I want to just share with you is just this stat here, 64%. And it's really the only number I want you to imagine at the moment. So 64% of visitors that find that they have some interaction before the event with their exhibitors actually are more likely to turn up and come and see them. So what we've found from talking with visitors is those that have reached out even before the event, let them know that they're there, let them know what's happening, both existing and potential clients, they're more likely to actually see you. So the challenge really to having a successful event starts today. It starts with starting those conversations, and hopefully you've already been doing this beforehand, making sure that everybody, both existing and potential, knows that you're coming, and really finding out what they're coming to see and what they're coming to talk to you about. And that brings me on to my next point of being targeted. So being targeted is really crucial, and exhibitors that are targeted with their goals and their ambitions for an event tend to have a much more successful event. My rather crude graphic on the screen that you can see at the moment, where we've got 3 people that are interested in a red car and 1 person that's interested in a speedboat, is really there to highlight the importance of knowing your audience and knowing who's coming. So you might be bringing along everything for that red car. You might be bringing a red car. You might be bringing your sales team for the red car. But if 1 in 4 people are interested in the speedboat as well, have you got the right tools to make sure that you're having a successful event? So have you got the right content available to share? Have you got the right people coming? And really, that's what you can be working on now. So every time you're talking with your customers, start having that conversation about what would you like to see from us? What would you like to be there for? And just make sure that you're prepared for that. That makes a huge difference rather than just sort of being in your stand and hoping that somebody comes to it. So I'd make sure that you're thinking about that now, that all of your staff are briefed, those that are attending the event and those that aren't attending the event, to gather that information for you now, and really think about how you're going to use that on the day. That would be my first bit of advice. So when we talk to exhibitors, 72% of exhibitors that we talk to rate capturing leads as the #1 reason that they're exhibiting at any event, really. So what's the key objective to that? What's the reason behind it? What do we want to get out of our event? And I think quantifying your success at the event is crucial right now. So have a think of that to yourselves and make sure that you're coming really with a goal and an ambition to the event of what you want to come out of it from. And then my next image here so kind of highlights historically how people used to do this. And this is where we start to come in at Visit and at GES. So historically, I'd walk around an event quite often and I would see a goldfish bowl like this full of business cards that have been building. And, you know, that's done us well over the years. And I'm hoping that nobody's planning on the goldfish bowl. But if you are, hopefully I can give you some reasons not to do that at the event now. But one of the main considerations is both time and the quality of data that you'll be getting from doing this. So historically, when we had this goldfish bowl full of business cards, someone in your team post the event's got to go through those. They've got to manually capture the data. And then realistically, let's say you had an absolutely fantastic event and you had 3,000 business cards in your huge fish bowl. Your goldfish can no longer move. Let's imagine that you can get 3,000 email addresses. Well, realistically, all you're going to be able to do is send out an email saying, thank you for coming to see us. If you need anything more, please contact us. And while that's great, I think we've moved into a world now where we get so many emails. I'm sure everybody on this call has probably got an inbox full of emails right now. And when you receive those generic emails that essentially just give you a bump of information, you tend to ignore them or they go into your spam. And that has a real effect on how successful the event was for you, because you're not following it up with a quality bit of information. So how do we get quality information? How do we make sure that we are following up successfully at the event? And how do we make sure that you're maximizing everything that you can get out of coming? Well, the first way we do this is via lead capture. I'm going to do a demo for you in a second of how this will work at the event. But lead capture itself is done through a web browser. So you can do this on your mobile phones, you can do this on a tablet. Historically, we used to use sort of data pens, which you may have used at previous events. We don't use those anymore, and that's really for this reason. We want quality data. We don't just want quantity, we want quality. So the first area there is tailoring questions. I'm going to show you how to do that in a little bit. Tailoring the questions that when someone comes up to your stand and you scan their badge, start capturing data that means something to you. So it could be a question of, how hot is this lead? And you might say, this was a hot lead, this was a cold lead, and maybe you're prioritizing those hot leads before the cold leads. It could be that you've got 5 products on show at the event, and you just wanted to ask a question, was interested in product 1, product 2, product 3, product 4, product 5. By asking that question, you can then plan how you're going to follow up. So those people that were a hot lead, interested in product 2, how do we follow up with that? And that's really crucial to having that successful event. And then the next part that's really crucial is briefing your staff as to what you want from the data captured at the event. So any staff that are coming with you, brief them into, look, we've set these questions up, you know the products that we sell, you know the services that we sell, you know everything that we do. Let's make sure we're asking the right questions so that when people are coming up to the stand, we're asking those questions and we can get some quality data that we can work with. Another feature that I'm going to show you in Visit Connect in a section is digital content. So within Visit Connect, you have the ability to create your own QR codes. Visitors will be able to scan these QR codes and grab content from you. So historically, we might have had piles and piles of brochures or leaflets or any other content such as that. You'll actually be able to create QR codes that if they scan that QR code, it will send them some digital content within their visitor portal. The payback to that is that also generates a lead. So if you're busy on the stand talking with someone else and you notice someone behind your back that's interested, they can still engage with your business by scanning the QR codes, even if you're not available to talk with them. So that's a really useful tool that I'm going to show you in a second. And then finally, Visit Connect also allows us to respond in real time, which I think is really crucial. And from speaking with exhibitors, if you can do this, and I know resources are tight sometimes, so it's not always possible, but if you can do this, we find some exhibitors have a lot of success when they have someone maybe back at their office that isn't actually coming to the event, that's looking in the Visit Connect portal and seeing your leads coming in. The leads come in live into Visit Connect. So the minute you scan a badge or the minute a visitor scans one of your QR codes, they generate live in a lead. The exhibitors that really stand out have that person back in the office. They see that Mr. Smith is interested in product 2 and he's a hot lead, and they follow up with it there and then. So as Mr. Smith's walking around and maybe even going to one of your competitors, you've already made that initial impact and you've made that good impression on Mr. Smith, because you've really shown out how key his business is to you. So I would have a think about that. If that is something that you can do, then real-time responding is a fantastic way. If not, responding as soon as possible is useful as well. So if it means that your team has to come back into the office afterwards, just make sure you're scheduling that time, because we all know how it can be sometimes, that you can come back and you're almost on to the next challenge already. So just make sure that you're scheduling that time. So for me now, I'm going to do a little product demo for you, and then I'll come back to a couple more hints and tips. So Visit Connect itself is web-based. So I'm just going to bring my browser up here. Bear with me a second. Okay, so hopefully in a second, you'll see my web browser. Fantastic. So this is the Visit Connect portal. You will have already been sent an email on how to access this web portal. If you haven't got that email or you haven't got access to it, there'll be an email address that we're going to show at the end of this webinar. Contact that email address and we'll be able to make sure that we can get you some access to the portal. You will have had one key contact that you would have passed on to the team, and they would have set up that key contact. That person gets the initial login to Visit Connect. They'll click on a link on their website, on their email, sorry, straight away, and it'll bring them into a browser like this. The first screen that you see is a dashboard screen. Hopefully during the event, we'll start to see some leads generating in this dashboard and you'll start to see some data coming in live. But the first option I just want to talk about is users. And so you can see here we've got a few users already in our portal here. You can invite other users to be able to access Visit Connect. So this may be that there's not just one person in your team that's going to be the admin, that's going to be following up on the leads, that's going to be managing this. There may be multiple people. All you need to do is select them as an admin here, put in their name, put in their email, click on send here, and it will send them an invite to be able to log into Visit Connect. Nice and simple. One of the other things that we often find is that people like to use this access mode, lead capture only. So if you've got staff that are going to be working on your stand that you don't really want them seeing the lead data, you don't want them following up with the lead data, but they are going to be there on the stand and they're going to be scanning away and they're going to be working on that, then add them here as a lead capture user. And that will allow them to scan on the stand, but it won't allow them to see the rest of Visit Connect there. So that could be a useful tool as well. The next option in our list here is profile questions. So I mentioned earlier about when we're scanning someone's badge, we might want to ask specific questions so that we can start capturing data that's useful to us. I'm going to show you how to add a really basic question here of how hot or cold is your lead. There's no limit to how many questions that you can ask, so you can have as many as you want, but just make sure that they're in line with your plan, as I said earlier, and that they're in line with your objectives for the event. So to add a question, we click on the add button. You type in the question here, how hot is this lead? And then we can have different types of question. We can have a free text, which will just allow us to type any answer. Single choice, we can only choose one of the answers, or multiple choice. Say that was, which products are they interested in? Product 1, product 2, product 3, maybe we'd go multiple choice with that. So we'll go single choice here. I'm just going to have hot lead, and then I'm going to click add down here and have cold lead as another option. Once I save that, that adds that as one of the questions that I can answer when scanning a badge. And I'll show you how this comes up in a second. Again, just to reiterate, you can add as many of these questions as you want. The one thing I would advise is not asking hundreds and hundreds of questions, because nobody wants on the stand to be scrolling through hundreds of questions to try and find the right one they want to ask. Strategically, I tend to say 5 to 10 is a maximum based on the data that you'll get as a useful, but really there's no limit. So if you do find a way that you want to do that, then fine. Also within your Visit Connect portal, you're able to create digital content. So digital content are the QR codes that I mentioned before. If I want to create some digital content, I can click on the add button here. Now let's say I had a brochure on product 1 and I wanted to add that brochure as a QR code. I would put product 1, let's say leaflet, product 1 leaflet. I might put some description on what product 1 leaflet is, what it contains, but then this attachment here, if I add an attachment, I'm going to have it as a web link in this example, but you can have different types of attachments. You can have a URL. So a URL will mean that when someone scans your QR code, they're given a website link to go to. You can have a document, which would be any form of file, PDF, Word file, Excel file, whatever you want to share, PowerPoint presentation. If you do this, a visitor scanning your QR code would essentially send them a copy of that document. You can have images, audio files, and video files. I'm just going to put a really quick example in here. I'm sure you've heard of this well-known website. Actually, I think Google blocks us unless we put the HTTPS in, but let's put that there. So basically what would happen if I click save is it generates this QR code. If a visitor came along to our stand, scanned this QR code, it would just send me the link to Google, which probably would be the most useless QR code in the history of QR codes, but hopefully you understand the principle. You can have as many pieces as many attachments to one QR code as you want. So if product one had a brochure, it had a leaflet, it had a video, it had its own dedicated section of your website, you can add as many attachments as you want, and that will send that through to anyone that scans that QR code. If I just click back here, you'll see that I now have what we call a product container. A product container is a unique QR code for leaflet one. We can add as many of these product containers as we want. So you don't have to have just one QR code with everything. If you've got 5 products, perhaps you could have 5 QR codes saying scan this code for information on product 1, scan this code for information on product 2. If you want to print these QR codes at any point, there is an export button down here. The export will either allow you to export into an image format, so like a JPEG or a PNG, or a PDF format. And then those can be printed, built into any literature or however you want to do it. I've seen it in a number of ways that that's built. So that's a really useful tool that you can do within the digital content. My next option down in Visit Connect is staff. So you're able to register your staff within Visit Connect. So if they haven't already registered as attending the event, nice and simple. I won't go through this in detail now. You just click on register, registering as an exhibitor, and then you will fill in the registration form and the questions for KBB at that point. So everything like your first name, last name, and any of the contact details. That will allow you to obtain your badge as well on the day. So that's useful. Finally, I just want to talk about leads here. So leads is where our leads start to come in. So you can see so far we're not having that great an event. We've had 1 lead. Hopefully when you look at this in real life, your leads are going to be considerably higher than 1. But this is our live feed to the leads. And what I want to show you now is how do we actually get a lead. So if you can bear with me a second, I'm going to actually share my mobile screen now and show you how this would look at the event. Bear with me a second, switching between devices. Okay, so this is now my mobile. Bear with me a second. Zoom is just catching up. So when you access Visit Connect on a mobile device or a tablet, it's the same link, the same login details that you've used to access it on a web browser. You can still see, provided that you're set up as the admin, you can still see all of that information that I've just shown you. So the dashboard, the users, you can set up the questions, but importantly, there's a different button under leads here. You'll see the big blue button in the middle that says add a lead. So in theory, what you should have is you should have your mobile, your tablet, whatever you're deciding to use, ready at the event on this screen. And hopefully somebody's going to come up to your stand interested in your product or your services. You're going to click the add lead button in the middle and ask to see their badge. It'll ask you to allow camera permission for the first time that you do this. So this is an example badge. I'm going to try and move my phone over to it quickly. I've got an example badge on the screen here. My badge, just as a test detail, that'll have a QR code. It's a bit quick for the demo, but by scanning that QR code on this visitor, it will show me who the visitor's name is, what their job title is, and any more contact details such as their email address, their address here. You'll then see up the top that Daniel, in this case, has come up to my stand. I can add notes. So spoke to Daniel about something specific, make sure we're following up on it. I can add all these notes and this syncs into my portal. I can add media. So let's say Daniel bought something to the stand and said, oh, look at this. This is a product that I'm interested in. I might want to take some photos of it. I've even seen exhibitors literally take the photo of someone's face so they remember who they were talking to at this point. And some people prefer just doing voice memos. Maybe you're too busy to start typing and answering questions. So some people prefer to do voice memos at that point. And then finally up the top right, we've got a questions button. If I click on this and in true Blue Peter style, here's what I did earlier. There's how hot is this lead is the question that I just made to you. So if I've scanned this badge, I could say, this is a hot lead, save this. And then that prioritizes Daniel as a hot lead. So when I'm looking at that data post-event, I might follow up with the hot leads before the colds. And you could have hot, tepid, cold, freezing cold, don't bother, I suppose, however you want to generate that. And you can see now against this lead, they're there as a hot lead, essentially, because I've answered that. What we would then continue doing is either clicking on the little person with the plus icon down at the bottom, or we can come back and we just carry on adding our leads. You'll see that there's 2 of me in here because I've scanned my badge twice in this demo, but hopefully what you'll start to see is a list here of all of those leads that you've been generating throughout the event. So it's really simple. You're just logging into Visit Connect, clicking on leads, and then just clicking add lead. Again, the web portal will start to show all of those leads amalgamated, even if they're scanning those QR codes as well. So nice and simple, really easy to do. You just log back into the account. If your phone dies, if anything like that dies, you just go back into your email, click on the link again, and you're back in. It's all web-based. There's no downloading of an app needed, nothing like that. So it's all nice and simple, really, and nice and easy. And hopefully you'll have a lot of success with that. So I'm just going to stop sharing that screen. So in terms of the product demo, nice and easy, really, quite a simple product to use, and we have a lot of positive feedback over multiple events for it. The one thing I'd then think about once we've done our event and once we've scanned all our hundreds of leads is, well, how are you going to follow up with this post-event? What are you going to do? I started off this call talking about inviting your existing database, okay? And this should be one of the first point of calls that we tend to look at. So, okay, you invited 4 people. Hopefully you invite more than 4, but let's imagine you invited 4. 3 of them showed up, they became a lead, you scanned their badge, fantastic. But 1 of them didn't. Well, actually, still think about following up with them. Why did we miss you? What was up? Can we still be of service, or how can we work together? It may be that they didn't come to your stand. It may be that they couldn't find you. All of these are useful things to consider at this point, to still making sure that you had a successful event. Really useful tip with that is, here's what you missed emails, or here's what you missed calls. Have a think of that. And also, why not at the end of day 1, have a look at all those leads that you've got. And if you've not had people show up, say, this is what we did on day 1, this is what you missed, really hope to see you on day 2. That's a really useful tool. Now, this next stat is a bit of a scary stat. This is a stat that we found pretty much before the pandemic, to be honest, but it's still a scary stat, and it's a stat that in the industry we want to drive down massively, and that is that 80% of leads that were scanned at exhibitions, and this is in 2019, were not even followed up with, which is in my world almost criminal, to be honest. If you're not following up with the leads, then there's obviously no return in your investment from the event. So make sure you're following up with them, and make sure you're giving yourself as much of a tool as you can to have a successful follow-up with them. So just to recap there, pre-event, so things that you should be thinking about now: who's coming to the event, how can we target them? And one thing I actually missed, why not book a time for them to come and see you on the stand? Actually book a meeting with them on your stand. Make your stand the place to have your meetings over the next bit of period. So if anyone says to you, can I come to your office, or can we have a Teams call? Why not say, we're at KBB. Do you fancy coming to see us, and we'll have a chat on our stand? We'll show you those products. We'll show you everything. Come meet the team. It's a really good way of driving of that interest. Then during the event, making sure that you're organizing that lead capture, making sure that you've got the plans, making sure that you're asking the questions that really give you the data that you need, responding in real time if you can do, really makes you stand out. And then also just thinking about those invites. Are you still coming? Is there anything we can do for you? And then post-event, it's there 3 times for a reason, but just follow up, keep on the follow-up. Use that data that you've captured. The data is the key here. And then just measure how successful that was as well, so that even for future events, you can start thinking about the different types of questions that you've asked and how certain things were successful. Did I bring the right products? Didn't I bring the right products? Did I bring the right people? Didn't I bring the right people? All of that can be measured to make sure that you're increasing your investment in attending an event. So that's me. I'm going to pass back to the Informa team, I think.